from the oldest city in the USA, St. Augustine tonight, with our guest, author and filmmaker, Derek Hankerson, from the Flagler College ACE program, Jorge Herrera, and our musical guest, Paco Lips. With your host, Jorge Rivera.
Yeah, wow. You guys had breakfast. That's good. That's the most important meal of the day. So, wow, show number 4. What a crowd. Thank you for your support. I guess I start by thanking Garrett Brothers for giving us a beautiful venue. Voila, monsieur. And, of course, the hors d'oeuvres are all gone. Thank you, Herencia Cafe, Cuban-American on Avila Street. You don't know what food is. And a secret, the chef is sitting among you. Shh. So there's no prize if you identify him, but still, he's among us. All right. So thank you so much. You know, been watching the news, and as I said, my favorite series on TV is Brexit. I watched that. Oh, if they had flying dragons, they would just be marvelous. I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but they brought 8 motions to the Parliament. They were all denied. So it was a, do we stay? No. Do we cut out total? No. Do we cut out but stay in the EU economic area? No. Do we stay and we sort of keep the customs? No. Every resolution was no. And they all looked at each other at the end. It's like, we didn't move the board, no spots up the board. We're right where we were. And I just love it. It's just so, it's real TV. It's a real reality show. So I don't know, you know, do we have scone and butter on Sundays? No. I mean, it was a constant beating. The place was full. The screaming and yelling was like a football game. The speaker had to yell at people to sit down and shut up. It was just, really, you never see the British who are so proper, behave so improperly. So it's amazing, amazing. Also, as you know, here in the US, the Mueller report came out. And that was, you know, the Mueller report is like someone says, they're building a bomb. It's getting bigger. The bomb, it has dynamite. The bomb, they're bringing the bomb in. The bomb is here. Watch out, the bomb. And this is the effect of the Mueller report. So hopefully we'll move on. Nothing happened. All this excitement and, it just came in. We read it. Apple made a huge announcement. I don't know if you people saw it, but I'm an Apple freak a little bit. So they're doing a streaming that's going to compete with Netflix. They're also going to do their own production company. They're going to produce their own shows. So in their opening, where they were showing all this, they had all these actors like Carell. They had directors like Spielberg come up and, you know, talk about all the projects they're going to have with Apple. So it looks great. Also, Apple comes up now with a credit card made out of titanium. And you have that credit card in your phone, which you can also use. But if you need a physical card, there it is. Supposedly, the interest rate will be very low. There's no late penalties. There's no fees of any kind. I don't know. It looks like they're going to change the whole industry of credit cards. We'll know more as the months go by. The other thing I saw really, really interesting, Samsung made a vase for flowers. It's about this big. And what this vase does, you put flowers in it, but if there's a fire in your house, like a stove fire, or say the candle turned over and these books are burning, you take the vase and you throw it. And when it hits the fire, it blows up, and the potassium and all these chemicals snuff all the oxygen out of the fire. And I said, wow, and I saw a demonstration. This guy looks like Brady. He comes in, he makes like a 4-yard pass, he hits the fire right in the middle, and this fire just zoop, goes down. Question is, most people can't throw. You know what I'm saying? So here's the fire, and you throw it and you hit the cat. Then you grab it again, you throw it, and you hit another picture on the wall. It goes out the window, hits a neighbor, you get sued for $100,000. I mean, how, you know, it's a great invention, but you got to know how to throw. This guy was like a quarterback, hit the fire right in the center with the vase. The vase blew up and the fire just was extinguished. So I think Samsung has a great invention, but it's going to have to give classes on how to throw a vase. Yes, I think that's it. And the last little piece of news that I saw that was really interesting is a discotheque in Poland where 1,000 people are all dancing and jamming to this great DJ. And when you look, it's an 80-year-old woman. And they call her DJ Wicca. And the 1,000 people come are all seniors, and they all come to, she does funk, she does soul, she does disco, and it's crazy. And she looks like a grandma. She's wearing these yellow dungarees, and she's just spinning the records, and everyone is just having a blast. I guess she's the oldest DJ, 80 years old, and they call her DJ Wicca. And she's wicked. Well, she's not going to play here tonight. What we have tonight here are guests, ladies and gentlemen. We have wonderful guests. We have author and filmmaker Derek Hankerson. We have from Flagler, Mr. Jorge Herrera. And we also have Paco Lips. And when we come back, we're coming back to Paco Lips and see what they got.
My background is French culinary, so we definitely have a European style to what we do. But I think also we're lucky with what we get around here as far as produce, so we're very spoiled with that kind of thing. Being able to get our vegetables delivered weekly, go out to the farm and pick up our cheese, things like that. So we're very influenced by our environment. Sourcing the way that we do seasonally is definitely something that keeps us creative. It keeps us doing something different every day. And especially now that we've started opening for dinner, it's really kind of going out there and meeting the guy at the dairy farm, meeting the guy that grows our cauliflower. Those are the kind of things that I think make it exceptional.
Well, wow, Paco lips. I'm taking them home with me. They're excellent, excellent. That's some good rock and roll there. And our guest is Mr. Derek Hankerson. And wow, I've known Derek now, well, for quite a while. And I've met some really interesting people through Derek also. And I brought you on your show because you're a really homegrown boy from here. The roots are here in St. Augustine, aren't they?
The roots are deep.
Yes.
It's humbling. It's extremely humbling, considering the tumultuous events that occurred in St. Augustine in the 60s. But a lot of people, as you and I have discussed in the past, are stuck on, I call stupid. We're stuck in either 1964 or 1864, but we fail to realize that the state of Florida was once a territory which was established in 1513, and St. Augustine was established in 1565,
That's
and
right.
we're 450 years old.
That's right.
And everything that happened first in this great country that's called America happened here. The good, the bad, and the ugly, as Sheriff Shore likes to call it.
Uh-huh. And so you were born where?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1964.
Okay. And now your parents are from Armstrong?
My mother is from Somerville, Tennessee,
Oh, okay.
which is Fayette County, named after Lafayette during the American Revolution, and she's from a large farming family, hence my attire. And my father is from this great community that's called St. Augustine. He was born here just like many of his relatives, and my family's been from Florida for 400 years.
Okay. And what did your dad do? What was his job?
My father did a number of things. He retired from the Department of Transportation. He worked for Federal Aviation Administration. He was literally a genius. He was a computer analyst. He used to work on computer systems to make traveling for all Americans safer. He also worked for the Department of Defense. He was in intelligence, and also he served in World War II, and he was stationed in Wiesbaden in 1952.
Yeah, the years of Germany's slow recovery.
Exactly, and he was there during the recovery.
So now you come, when did you come to, I mean, you grew up, you left Chicago when you were young?
Yes.
And you went to live where?
Well, my father was, my dad was in the banking industry in Chicago, and he was in computers when computer systems were not this little thing on our phones. They were mainframes,
Yes,
IBM mainframes,
Right.
and you had the little cards, that punch cards. And so an opportunity, and banks would call him at all sorts of hours during the night, and he would get up and go work on their various different computer systems. And an opportunity presented itself through a friend of his to apply for a position at Federal Aviation Administration in it's about 1964 or 5, 6, 7, 8, it's about 1972.
Okay.
And he wound up acquiring that position. My father and siblings drove to Laurel, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County, where we set up shop. My mother and I, because I was the youngest, I'm the pro-life child, and I say that because I'm 8 and 9 years younger than my brother and sister, who are Irish twins.
Okay.
So my mother and I flew to flew to Maryland, and I grew up inside the Washington, D.C. Beltway, about 20 minutes outside of the United States Capitol, the White House. And
so that would be your childhood, mostly in that area? When you think of your childhood, high school, junior high, it's all happening there?
That was suburban Maryland. However, we were very fortunate and blessed. Both of my parents worked for the government, and coming from a well-to-do Southern family, our parents thought that it would be better for us to go to the school and north, similar to various other families, to include military families. They send their children to West Point or the Naval Academy, of things of that sort, schools of leadership, because it is about leadership. It's always about leadership, and it's always been about leadership, and it will always be about leadership. But more to the point, the opportunity to have grown up in D.C. was just a wonderful
I love
opportunity.
D.C. It's a very stimulating city.
It is stimulating. We native semi-Washingtonians call it Tinseltown of the East, because it is very Eastern establishment. It is very snooty, and hence why I also dress like I dress, because while my demeanor might come off that way, I think I'm a great guy.
Okay, I do too. You're my friend. He's my friend. He has to be. And so now, what did you study when you went to school? Once you left high school and you went into college?
Well, I studied political science, and I studied political science because I had heard these wonderful stories of various family members who served in office, to include in St. Augustine, to include my great-grandfather, who was appointed by President William Howard Taft in the early 1900s to be one of the first postmasters here in St. Johns County, i.e. St. Augustine. He was the first Negro postmaster. I don't take offense to that term, because most of us don't realize that Spanish influenced America more so than the British. It's just that the British won the war, and Negro is a term for black.
Yeah,
so
negro.
Negro, exactly, and Schwartz is German. So it was just humbling growing up with these powerful stories about a family who was mixed, and who was also West African, and who was also Native American, and who was also European, but growing up in the South and growing up in Maryland, where the predominant education was British, you didn't read stories about Jews, about Greeks, about Menorecans, about Spanish, about Africans, and those of us who are descendants of people who served fighting for freedom and independence.
Right.
You mostly read that Caucasians were slave owners and African Americans were slaves. That's the furthest from the truth.
Well, history does that. You know, it's like the Alamo. When they teach you the Alamo, it's these white Texans fighting these Mexicans, but there were more Mexicans in the Alamo fighting with the whites against Mexico, and they don't bring that little point to you, you know.
Well, speaking of Texas, they like to call accurate American history revisionist history. How can it be revisionist when Mexico was explored in 1512? It was settled in 1527. California was
all their territories.
Exactly, and then of course the Spanish and Africans swept across the South and settled. They had originally wanted to settle St. Helena Island. That was supposed to be the original capital of Spanish Florida. However, it was a maroon community, which meant that Africans were left there. The Spanish were supposed to come back with supplies, but they caught up in the hurricanes. They wound up settling in 1565, and people look at me strangely. You're talking Africans and Spanish? Yes. If you look at a world map, which growing up in Maryland, Virginia, and the Washington D.C. area, the history was laden with British history, and that particularly starts with U.S. history in 1776, which I get. But American history dates back to about 1526, when a gentleman by the name of Martin Waldseemüller, he was a German cartographer, produced a map, and on the map, he signed it similar to people would sign art in the Renaissance period, and he picked it up from Amerigo Vespucci. And America is named after an Italian, Amerigo Vespucci. It's America. But my point is, Africans North Africans, Moors, Muslims ruled Spain for 700 years,
Yes.
from 711 to 1492. So most of the Spanish are, you can logically deduct through common sense that they're part African.
Yeah.
So when they came to the New World, who would they call? They were called their cousins, and they would travel to the New World with them, and hence why I talk about not the British after 1776, but I talk about America pre-1776, which is 268 years of Florida history from 1513 to 1776 is left out of the American history textbooks, which include people who look like you and I and pretty much our audience. We all contributed to this great nation that's called America, and those are mostly the films
Yes.
that we work on, films that deal with freedom and independence.
And the Spaniards have a lot of Arab DNA that goes back
They
to
do.
Palestine because of that influence. But talking about history, you put out a wonderful film.
Yes.
About the bike trail.
Yes.
The Gullah Geechee. What's the title again?
It's the Gullah Geechee Corridor and the
Corridor.
East Coast Greenway.
Yes. It's a beautiful bike trail.
Thank you.
I saw your film.
Yes.
Full house. The people just reacted to it because you were able to bring the beauty of Florida, the joy of cycling, and the history of that area. And so, tell us a little bit about that film.
What, are you trying to get me to cry here? Is
Yeah,
that what you're doing?
love men who cry on my show. It's a thing. But that project took you how long? How long?
14 years.
14 years.
And I say 14 years because I first have to give the credit to St. John's County Board of County Commissioners, because in 2001 I was serving in the George Walker Bush's administration, and I was assistant to the Secretary of Housing. I was the assistant to the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. In April of that year, my father passed away. Later in the year, I was slated to go to, it's a long story, I'll make it short. I was slated to go to work for the Secretary of Defense, somehow, same way. My paperwork got hung up, 9/11 happened. I was staring at the Pentagon as I watched the plane hit the Pentagon and the two other planes hit the World Trade Center. I picked up the phone, I called my mother, and I said I was coming home. And I said that because my mother knew of this potential appointment to work for SecDef, Secretary of Defense, and she kept saying, son, you need to stay at HUD, something's gonna happen, I don't feel good about this, stay where you are.
Wow.
Premonition, because her husband had just passed away at 50 years. So that was like a premonition for me to go home. And so when I came home, I wound up having a wonderful opportunity to work for Congressman John Mica, who was running for Congress for this area because it was redistricted. In 2002, I had an opportunity to work for St. Johns County Board of County Commissioners as a project coordinator, working in the Housing and Community Services Division. By 2004, I had moved to St. Johns County Administration, and I was responsible for the health and wellness of all of St. Johns County Board of County Commissioners employees, and to include the constitutional employees. So it was humbling being a leader in the community, working in the government, while also trying to move a sedentary society towards health and wellness. And I came across this nugget that this beautiful county, which my family is native to, which dealt with the East Coast Greenway. And I thought to myself, this isn't gonna work, because having studied government, having worked in the federal government, having had 3 political appointments, I thought most things that happen in government are reactive. I'm an extreme type A Scorpio, and I'm proactive. So I thought, I got to do something about this. So I was lying in bed one night, and I had this epiphany, and the epiphany was God pushing me. He's like, Derek, you need to quit your job, and you need to do something great. You need to be like water and find a way and tell this mesmerizing story about this beautiful community, this beautiful county, based in history, based in culture, based in this wonderful tapestry. And I want you to wrap it around this East Coast Greenway, which extends from Key West, Florida, to Maine. It's the longest non-motorized trail in America. It's 3,000 miles. And Armstrong, the community of Armstrong, which was settled by West Africans, I'm a direct descendant of West Africans via my grandmother, who lived in Little Africa, which was settled in 1866 after the Civil War, thanks to General William Tecumseh Sherman and President Abraham Lincoln dealing with the Freedmen's Bureau. The 40 acres and a mule came to St. Johns County. This whole quarter was part of the 40 acres and a mule. That whole quarter, which we exist in now, is part of the United States Department of Interior's Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Quarter. And that's a project that I had a hankering to work on because of my grandmother's influence over my life.
Take a moment. If I could put your passion in a bottle, I'd be a rich man.
So would I. And it was those, excuse me, those wonderful, positive stories that I learned
From
her and other relatives about this beautiful county, which is 450 years old. We have seen the good, we have seen the bad, we have seen the ugly. So my point is, I was moved by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
to put together a documentary which highlights ecotourism, travel and tourism, American culture, this unique West African culture which has contributed over 500 years to Florida and 450 to St. Johns County, while also saying thanks to my grandmother.
And if we've run out of time, but
Oh, shoot.
if we want to see this film, it's called the Gullah Geechee Corridor.
Well, it's called the Gullah Geechee Corridor, the East Coast Greenways.
Greenway.
The film actually is in the process. We've gone through, excuse me for all that crying, but
Yeah.
the reason why is because growing up as a kid and visiting St. Johns County, visiting Lincolnville, we would always have to stop in Armstrong. But we'd always come to Lincolnville because my great aunt lived right in front of Mrs. Tyson's house. She lived in a 12-room Victorian home from 1930 to 1999, and our family survived the carnage of the 60s and some of the churches that our family built, to include Shiloh Baptist Church on King Street, which was built in the 30s.
Right.
A cousin of mine was the minister of that church, and we also built a number of churches in Daytona in 1866.
Okay.
So I'm from a long family of those who have contributed to society, and I swear to you, in a past life, I was a knight, always doing, always.
So where can we find that film if we want to see that film?
The film, we're dropping it to an aggregator, which is distributor, and the film will be available on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon within the next month. But I want to close on this. The reason why I cried, not because, the reason why I cried, because this film means a lot to me, because growing up as a kid, my grandmother, who was West African, she was very stoic, like a lot of German parents and family. They're just, they don't smile, they don't laugh, there's nothing to laugh about. For some odd reason, I could get her to laugh, and there was a time I had come down from Washington, D.C. I had just seen The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I was 10 years old, and I was literally marching up and down the street, and my grandmother had asked my parents, what's wrong with that boy? And my parents told her the story. And she had told me later, she came out and she said, grandson, I swear to you, you need to be an actor because you are such a ham. And I shed a tear. I shed a tear because in this film, not only do I narrate the film, but I wrote the script, I produced the film, I direct the film, I served as the executive producer, and I'm in the film. So when I say, here we go again. When I say a tribute to my grandmother, I mean it from the heart. Not only did I serve as an actor, you know.
So that's Derek Hankerson. I thank you so much for being here and sharing that from your heart. I love you, and we'll be back after these messages.
My name's Theo Garrett. I'm the owner of Garrett Brothers. My rule of thumb is I don't take anything in this store that I wouldn't have in my own home. We look for unique pieces, things you can't find anywhere around St. Augustine, and we pride ourselves on that. We have more than furniture. We have 1967 Vespa. We have anything that you can think of that would be fun and exciting. You're going to find it here. Sculptures, art pieces. We have a wonderful selection of art. I hear it's like a museum. That's the most common comment that I hear. Love for you to come and see me here, and we'll make you happy.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, with Jorge Herrera. Jorge Herrera is a man of many hats, but I've known him for a while. I met him through his beautiful wife who runs the store Amistad, which is a wonderful store. It's a boutique kind of thing with wonderful products. So I met him there, and then we became friends. And Jorge right now is one of the people responsible for the adult continuing education program in Flagler. And so, yeah, we want you to get smart. That's what we want you to do.
That's right.
So now, Jorge, where were you born, Jorge?
I was born in Mexico.
Mexico
Yes,
lindo.
Mexico.
That's a beautiful Mexico.
Yeah, San Luis Potosí.
All
That's the name of the
right.
state and the capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your childhood was in Mexico then?
It was in Mexico, raised by grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, everybody in a big house with a Spanish-style rooms on the perimeter and the open area inside.
Classic.
Yeah.
The classic in Spain too. These homes,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
courtyard. Oh,
Yeah.
they're wonderful.
Yeah.
And when you think of your childhood in Mexico, was it a good childhood?
Yeah, it was a good childhood. Single mom, older brother, but we had the support of everybody, aunts, uncles, grandparents. It was fun. It was joyful. It was just.
And so, how old were you when you came to the United States?
Almost a teenager. Almost, right? A couple of months before I turned 13. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And where did you come to the United
To
States?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yes, right.
Everybody's
That's
from
right.
Chicago
That's
today.
right.
What's going on here? And so, how did you like, compared to Mexico, how was the weather in Chicago? No. My question is, how did you like Chicago?
I loved it. I loved it. It was fun. It was different. It was exciting. I don't mind the cold, and I have never minded the cold.
Okay.
New people. Part of my relatives were here. And my mom remarried. I ended up with a house of 7 siblings,
Oh, the
3
Brady
brothers,
bunch.
4 sisters, and it was fun. It was good.
And did you work while you were growing up as a teenager? Did the
I
family have a
had
business?
I
or
had
anything
4
like that?
part-time jobs when I was in high school. Yeah, I loved work. I've always loved working. Gas station, Montgomery Ward, chemical company. I always enjoyed work. I always loved to work.
All right.
Yeah.
And so once you did high school, what happened after high school?
College, then graduate school,
Okay.
and then work. During college, I worked for Elmhurst National Bank in Chicago, in Elmhurst. It was always working and studying and working and studying.
Did you do any athletics while you were in college or in high school?
I ran cross country. Well, I played soccer in my first 2 years of high school, but then we switched high schools. And then no soccer team, so there was a cross country team and track team, so I joined, thinking I would stay in shape for soccer, but I ended up loving running, and I've been running ever since.
Wow. And when you say running, what distances are we talking about?
Well, there's a big difference between being young and a college athlete and competing at a collegiate level, and running as a middle-aged person and getting worse. But the body doesn't tell the difference between running 20 miles at 6 minutes a mile to running 10 miles at 9 minutes a mile. The body's still working hard. So,
Okay.
but I like distance: 8-mile runs, 9-mile runs, 6-mile runs.
You still do these?
Yeah,
Wow.
not every day.
Wow, 9 miles, 12 miles. That's yeah.
It's a meditation. It's just an escape.
Like my cousin would say, I'd have to be very scared to run that far. And so now, when you came to St. Augustine, where did you come from?
My wife and I came from St. Charles, Illinois.
Okay.
That was a suburb of Chicago. I went to school in Lisle,
Okay.
Benedictine University. My wife was in Aurora, and then we went to St. Charles. No, she was always in Aurora, but we worked there for a while. And we just moved in 1968. 1986.
My wife is nearby.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
listening.
1986.
You better get those facts right.
I know.
Okay, 1986.
Yeah.
And so you've been in Florida since
We
1986?
came to South Florida to
Okay.
a place called Plantation right near Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, and our daughter went to American Heritage High School there, and then we eventually found St. Augustine because our daughter came to Flagler College. She loved it. We loved the town, and my wife said, "This is it. We got to come here." Like many people come to St.
Yes,
Augustine
I've
and
heard
decide
this story over and
we want
over.
to come back.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is it. And
Yeah.
so how long have you been in St. Augustine?
Well, we bought a little beach house on the island in 1998,
Okay.
and then we used to come and take long trips, leave on a Sunday, and then maybe leave on Monday morning, and then this is ridiculous. She sold her previous company that she had. I left Nova Southeastern University to come here, and we added to the house we had so we can live. This was a house on stilts with 600 square
Right.
feet, so we added,
Make it more
and we
livable.
finished the addition in 2001,
Okay.
and then we've been living full-time here ever since.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. And so what caught your energy here? What was it that when you came here, you said, I like this place?
The beach.
But I mean, Florida's all coast, like
Yeah.
someone said.
Yeah, but it's an interesting community of interesting people who are here, who want to be here. The instructors in the lifelong learning program, for example, they're people that are extremely talented, and I noticed that. We noticed that, and it's just it's a small community, but has large dimensions to it. There's a little everything. You make your own way in St. Augustine. You create your own reality in St. Augustine.
Okay. All right.
And there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of nice people,
Okay.
warm people.
So how did you end up in Flagler College?
When we transitioned from selling the other business, we created a consulting firm. We still have Culture Sense International and cross-cultural trainers, and so I was consulting, and my wife was consulting as well. My wife, Susan. And I also had been teaching since I was in Illinois. I started teaching in when I was very young. They thought I was one of the students as well. Yeah, because this is an adult program, and so I wanted to teach in a local college while I was consulting, having left my full-time job. And so I began teaching at Flagler College in 2001. So I taught international business, organizational behavior, small business management, and so on, and consulting and so on. And then I went to work full-time at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I was there tenure track, half a dozen years. But then my wife finished her PhD at UF, and NC State, North Carolina State University, gave her really a wonderful opportunity to open up a new campus in South Korea, at least to conduct a study, the feasibility study. And so that took its course. So I left Embry-Riddle. I followed here to St. Augustine from Plantation. I followed her to North Carolina from
You must love this
Embry-Riddle. You got that right. and then when that project took its course, then she said, let's come back. That's when, in North Carolina, she discovered fair trade. So she decided, I want to open a fair trade store.
Her store is a fair trade store. Yes.
And so when I came back, I met the person who's a neighbor, the person who's really responsible for the adult and continuing education program. That's Alan Woolfolk. He's the Dean of Academic Affairs. He's the responsible for talking to me and saying, hey, let's do something about this continuing education program. Let's do something about degree completion programs.
Right.
And so I wrote a proposal to the college, and they accepted it, and so we began in 2015 in the summer.
So in a nutshell, if you had to explain to someone what ACE, as you guys call it, ACE, ACE is, what is it?
Well, most colleges and universities offer some kind of program post-baccalaureate. So you're talking about providing access to the community for courses like the Lifelong Learning Program, skills learning from watercolor to tango dancing, to a variety of courses. This is for the community.
Ukulele, dance.
Yeah, and that is probably the most important part of the program as far as the community is concerned, because we open the doors to the community, and the community is part of the college is part of the community. But they also have corporate training and professional development, where we are rolling out certificates. For example, we have a wonderful certificate in digital marketing science, where you learn a deep dive. You take a deep dive into Google Analytics, Facebook Sales, HubSpot, very in-depth knowledge. We are rolling out all the certificates. The point is that whether you are a local resident or you want to increase your skills in Lean Six Sigma, in project management, in entrepreneurship, you can come to the college, take online courses or take on-ground courses, and get that kind of training. So we're about to revamp our website and offer just a world of opportunities. Courses for military spouses, courses for the unemployed, and so on. So there's a lot of things going on so that the college can fulfill its mission in the community to be a center of learning, which is what we are.
Well, it changed the whole perception. See, you could be a college in the community, or you could be a college part of the community.
Right.
And by doing that, you become a college that's part of the community.
Right.
And I think that's awesome. Because I go to your party, you give this big party after the course is over every year.
Yeah.
People play ukulele, guitar, flamenco, belly dancing. They've all taken these courses, and there's so much positive and happy energy, and they're all local people. It's wonderful.
Well, Alternate Tables, Jorge Rivera showed up at the first annual Adult and Continuing Education Celebration between Fall A and Fall B, and simply filmed the event. And if you go to the website, you'll find it. You can see it. And he showed up in the second annual, and the third annual, and now October it'll be the fourth annual. And I want to thank you for that. So here's on behalf of Flatiron College and the Adult and Continuing Education, that's for you for
Surprise. Wow, this is beautiful. Thank you. I can say I went to Flagler College. Yeah, no. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. But you know, it takes people with vision. You know, it's like my dad used to say, the tools could be all there, and no one knows how to use them.
Right.
And someone walks in and takes those tools and does amazing things.
Yeah.
And that's how I see you, a man who does amazing things. And I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When we be back, we'll be back with Victoria Romero from Taco Lips. Oh, yeah.
At Martinez & Associates, we can help you with many things. Number one is income for life throughout your retirement, which is very important. Number two would be Medicare choices, which are very confusing. Number three is a legacy for your loved ones. And finally, keeping you independent throughout retirement. My name is Tuli Martinez. Call this number y hablamos español.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with the lead singer of Taco Lips. So nice you made it to the show. It's always so difficult to get the musicians because they're always so busy.
Right, yeah.
And it's like you call them, you email them. And so I think my challenge always is that I bring 13 musical people here, and it's chasing them all this time. And you were quite accessible, so I thank you for that. So, so your full name is, on the birth certificate, is what?
It's Victoria Felicia Romero.
Wow, Victoria. Yeah. Victoria means victory. Felicia means happiness. So your parents had positive thinking going on here.
Yes.
Okay, so where were you born?
I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Jersey. Any Jerseyites out here? Woo, look at that. Radical people. Be careful with these Jerseyites. And so, Jersey. Would you say your childhood was in Jersey?
Yeah, I did grow up there. Half my life there and half my life here in Florida. Definitely shaped who I am today. Made me the strong person that I am, because you know, growing up in the city, you have to be have to have a tough skin.
Yes. New York.
Yeah, it was great though. I loved it. I loved the city.
Okay, and so when you came to Florida, how old were you when you came to Florida?
I was just 10.
Okay, all right.
I was little.
And what part of Florida did you come to?
Palm Coast. Yeah.
Palm Coast. It's a stone throw away. Anyone from Palm Coast out here?
It's okay, you're not missing out on much.
You're all alone. You're all alone. So you'd say your teenage, high school, middle school, all that was in Palm Coast then?
Exactly, yeah.
And how was it? Did you have a good childhood?
It was good. Very, you know, quiet. It's a very small town, so you know, there's only two things to do. You can go out to dinner, you can go to the movies. That's about it.
It's not Jersey.
No.
And so now we know you as the singer of Taco Lips. And I know there's Mike, there's Troy. Who's the other person?
And Taylor on the bass.
That's it. And then there's you. And you guys were great. You guys have a really nice rock and roll sound.
Thank you.
We love you. I have a bunch of fans now. And so now, how early did you start moving towards music, you think?
Well, music's been a part of my life for like my entire life. As long as I can remember, I've just always been singing, and my mom's a singer, so she kind of like, she never really got to fulfill her dream, so it kind of became my mission in life to carry on her her dream and do what she always wanted to do. So
Okay. Now your mix is what? Your father is from?
he's from Honduras.
And your mama?
She's just Irish.
Irish
Irish as can
German.
be. Yeah.
We're green on St. Patrick's Day. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So, wow, what a lovely mix. And so she when she sang, what did she sing?
Oh, she sung everything. She really loved like Judy Garland and like all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it is obvious. Yes,
Yeah.
I love Judy Garland. I do. And I also like, oh, her mind escaped me. Country. She's country. Old. Patsy Cline.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love her. And a guy from New York, you know, I told a friend, I like Patsy Cline. They looked at me like, whoa. And I do. I used to, in London, I used to hang around with these punkers on the east side of London, and they listened to this loud punk music. But on Sundays, they listened to Frank Sinatra. And I was like, what? And Frankie's cool with us, man. And they loved Frank Sinatra, which was so interesting how people, what kind of music did you listen to that you were attracted to?
I really love the Grateful Dead. They're a
man,
huge
there's
inspiration
such a huge
for me.
following for those guys.
Exactly, yes.
Yes, yes.
And then Selena Quintanilla, she is a huge inspiration for me.
Yes.
Even though she was, you know, alive and lived her life and her legacy before I was even born, it's amazing that someone can leave such an imprint on the world and just really, you know, carry on their legacy for decades.
And what was sad about her was that she didn't die because she abused alcohol or drugs.
No.
She was just unlucky that a fan just murdered her,
Right.
just shot her.
Yeah.
That was a real shocker. Right? That's a shocker. I mean, when Amy Winehouse, which I love,
Me too.
it shocked me and saddened me, but you knew she had a problem. And when you play
Right.
with fire, you
kind of
you
see
can
it
die.
coming, you never really know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But with Selena, there was no telling, you know. Nobody had any idea.
Wow. And so do you play an instrument?
I play a little bit of guitar, but it's a work in progress for me. So one day maybe I'll you know, take over for Mike over there. You know, he's okay.
Yeah, Mike's okay. I think Mike figured that instrument out. So when we talk about you singing, could you remember the first time you sang in front of a group of people?
Well, it was at a talent show when I was about maybe 12 or so. I was really little, and I actually sung a Beyonce song. And it was a whole like choreography routine, and
so you had other people?
I had other people there, and my group members, they backed out on me. So I was the only one up there. I had to carry the whole dance by myself and the whole song.
Oh my
Yeah,
Lord.
but I did it, and I mean I did it with I think I did pretty good.
You were okay. Wow. Do you remember the first time you were now singing like in bars and clubs and places like that?
Yeah, that was definitely more recent for me.
Okay.
I really just started with these guys.
Paco Lips? So
Yeah.
how old is the band of Paco Lips?
Like 3 years or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys got a lot of fans for being around for 36 months. You know, I told people you guys were on the band, and Camera 2, here's a big fan and a friend. And so it's, yeah, it's quite interesting. So when you listen to music, when you're not singing, when you're home and you listen to music, what do you listen to?
I really listen to the whole spectrum of music. Like, I can't just limit myself to one genre, because I think every single genre teaches you something different, and it gives you, you know, that extra layer of dimension that you need to be a well-versed and versatile musician. So I really just listen to just a little bit of everything. And I know that's like a standard answer, but like it really does serve you well as a musician to learn things that are outside of your comfort zone, and to listen to all types of people, things that you maybe wouldn't listen to, you know?
When I'm in my car, I'm listening to reggaeton, Arab pop, Coltrane, you name it. I love all music. West African music, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it is. You find tunes or patterns, because to me, music is math.
Right,
And it's all different equations. And sometimes there's equations you don't like, but there are equations you go, oh wow, that's different. I love that. And then you hear it, you constantly play it because you like it so much. So when you think of Paco Lips, do you think, could I box you in a genre?
Ooh, that's hard. I think we try to say that we're mostly rock and roll, but we have so many just like undertones to what we do that it's hard to just fit us in a box, you know? And to be honest, I don't really want to be in a box because, you know, every single day we're learning something new about ourselves and the sound that we're trying to make. And I think we have like blues and jazz and just very soulful is what we try to do, you know. And if you don't have any passion behind what you do, then, you know, why do it? So that's really what we're about.
And how are the band members? I mean, you could tell us the truth. When you split up, we say you heard it first here. Does the band feel very cohesive?
I mean, I carry the whole group. I don't even need those guys. You're looking at the band right here.
That's something Don Rickles would say. Yeah, that's something Don Rickles would say. Yeah,
they're really great to work with, honestly. And I think all of us, we kind of just learn each other so well. And you learn how to work with each other and really mesh together. And everybody brings something different to the table, and it just all works out. You know.
Now, are you guys writing music?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah, we're always writing. We have bits and pieces of music everywhere, and eventually, you know, songs come together. But that's definitely the biggest challenge, I think, is writing, because, you know, there's just so many ideas.
Right. And there's some people who put out music like Stephen King puts out horror novels. You know, just like, you know. So now, have you toured? Have you toured outside of Florida?
Yes, we've actually gone on 2 cross-country tours before, and we're preparing for our 3rd one this June.
And what places does these journeys take you?
We've been all over the West Coast. We've been across the country. We played in LA. We played on the Sunset Strip at the Whiskey A Go Go.
Oh wow, that's a hot spot. That's a hot spot. Whiskey A Go Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you like any place? Did you like fans better in some place? Are they more receptive, more interactive? Have you found?
Yeah, I think it really just depends on the venue and the location. Like on the West Coast, people have a completely different mindset than over here.
Someone knows something we don't. Yeah.
But I think it depends on definitely the type of people that you deal with. In Seattle, we played in Seattle, and
that's where grunge came out of. Pearl Jam, I love Pearl
exactly,
Jam, Soundgarden.
And I think with that history behind it, it gives people a whole different mindset on music. And some towns are more receptive to like local music and original music. Other people prefer like the songs you hear on the radio all the time.
Right, cover songs.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's definitely good to come into towns that, like Seattle and LA even, that have been so receptive to original music, because you have to be accepting of new music, otherwise you're just going to listen to the same thing all the time. You know, you have to really appreciate new talent and up-and-coming people, you know, because this is essentially what the future is going to be, is new talent, you know.
So my last 2 questions for you would be, do you have recorded music? If we wanted to buy music, where could we pick it up?
We have an album. It's a self-titled album, Paco-Lips, and it's got 8 songs on it, and it's got 2 covers and 6 originals. So it's a good mix of, you know, a little bit of everything for somebody.
Your website or iTunes or what?
We actually just have hard copies. We're pretty old-fashioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And my last question is, if I threw you on an island and said you can only listen to 1 LP the rest of your life, what would that be?
Oh man, this is the hardest question. Oh my gosh.
What comes to the top of your head right away?
Honestly, anything from the Beatles, probably, just because.
Beatles.
Yeah.
Lots of Beatles out there.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
We want to get to know these young groups.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Would you guys play something for us?
Absolutely.
When we come back, Paco-Lips, baby. Woo! Oh, yeah.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Another show. We want to thank Larencia for the food you all ate. We want to thank Garrett Brothers once again, Derek Hankerson, Jorge Herrera, and the lovely Victoria Romero, and that great band behind her. She's going to play a couple more songs. Stay around, have a glass of wine, mingle, get to know each other, and See you next week.
Itty bitty